Nation, Guru Nation, Guru Nation, Guru Nation. Guru Nation, we are here at Yuma Clinical Trials
headquarters.
I wish we were sponsored by Bubbly. This is great stuff. I'm here with nurse practitioner and business partner Jaime Valles. Cheers, man.
Cheers, man.
Shout out to Bubbly. If you're open, call me.
Keto friendly.
Keto life. So, Jaime's business partner, nurse practitioner. We've been doing this, man, for those of you guys that want to follow, there's an entire playlist on YouTube of documenting my clinical research journey since day one. Actually, even before we started the clinic, the videos are on there. The videos don't lie.
Don't lie.
And we're 3 months in. The goal has always been, hey, this is like a 5-year plan. We're going to come in, build something, and either let it run on its own without us, with management, or explore the possibility of sales or partnership. And everything's still on the table.
Yeah.
We're 3 years in, which is like about the halfway mark.
Yeah.
And I think we are, I mean, I don't want to speak for you. Personally, I think we are doing better than I expected. How about you?
Well, to say the truth, I didn't know what to expect because I never done research before. So it was completely new to me. I never had a business before, so that was completely new to me. So I heard about research. I heard about having a business. That the first years is like you're just kind of trying to build the business. So for me, it's going better than expected, but I didn't know exactly what to expect.
Is it easier or harder than you thought it would be? By year 3.
That's a good question. It's easier in a way because I like spending time with my patients, so I have plenty of time to do that versus the regular clinic when you have scheduled patients. And even though you may want to talk more or address more stuff, it's harder. But here it's easier in that sense. But where it gets hard is when there's stuff that needs to be followed up. Let's say a level on the kidneys or the liver goes out of range, and that's something you're looking for, but still there's a lot of different steps you have to do, and that's when it becomes a little more tricky to make sure we follow the protocol, make sure we're in contact with the monitor, with the medical monitor, so that way we don't deviate from the protocol and follow the guidelines that the protocol already has established. So that's when it gets, I would say, tricky.
That's where it bifurcates from like clinic to research.
That's right.
That's like the fork in the road. That's where like the clear separation occurs, is right around those things where it's not really standard of care, but it's extra.
It is way extra. Like in the clinic, we normally don't check labs every month, and here we, for the most part, we do it every month, or depending on
like
the
every
protocol.
time they come in for this one study, it's like 14 tubes every time they come.
And that's another thing. Right? And it's one, if the labs out there are hearing, they usually are able to do multiple labs out of one tube instead of having one tube for each particular lab.
Why do you think they do that in these studies?
I don't know if they have different labs doing different studies.
It's all one.
Usually it's all one. I don't know if they just want to make sure they have enough blood in case one tube doesn't, something goes wrong, or blood hemolysis, or I don't know. It's normally they can do a lot of labs out of one single tube, and here we do like a lot of tubes for the same amount of results that we'll get in the regular outpatient basis.
So we talk a little bit about your clinician background, because there's actually a lot of nurse practitioners out there that do own research clinics, and that want to.
There you go.
Right. The NP is tricky because you still need a PI. You still need an MD.
Correct.
But the PIs will love it because they know they could count on you.
They make their job easier, if you will.
But this is your first business.
Correct.
As an owner, you're now not only a clinician, but you are a business owner.
That's right.
And that part, I think, is new for you, right? You would never.
No, never, ever.
You were always an employee.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm sure you've learned more on that front than on the actual clinical stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you learned some things on the clinical side.
Yes, definitely.
Because you've done different specialties now. You've done psych.
Yeah. Ortho.
Yeah.
Diabetes.
Where was the challenge more for you? Like picking up a new assessments or new like clinical skill set, or was it the business side?
The business is always a challenge, but in our case, you manage most of the business side of it. So you already knew licenses that we need. You already knew all that stuff. So it made my part of the job easier on the business side because you were taking care of most of it. On the clinical side, it's also different. It's different, and then especially when the medication is a new therapeutic. When you're testing a therapeutic that that family has been out in the market and studied left and right, you kind of already know what to expect. But when it's a new therapeutic that we're barely learning, we don't know a whole lot on that family medication, then it puts us on a more like hypervigilant state kind of thing. So it's learning on both sides, to be honest, and now learning the business side, seeing how things are done. It makes it easier in a way.
On the process of getting studies, so there's a lot we can interview because it's getting studies, it's getting patients, it's getting physicians. Those are like the three big things to have any clinical research business.
That is right.
But it's also a fourth layer. Well, there's two more layers. It's managing employees.
Correct.
And then it's the quality assurance. Correct. And then contract and budget, which for us is like all Chris. I don't even do that. So getting the studies, you've seen now, you're going to do site selection visits. You've already done a few without me. Mm-hmm. You're getting more comfortable with those, or they pretty much ask the same things every.
Most of them ask the same things, and then the only things that are different is depending on the study. If it's like a psych study, they'll ask on that side. If it's more like a medical study, they'll ask more on that. But yeah, they all want to make sure that the facility is capable of. They want to make sure that you're able to bring patients in, that you have a database that you can work on. They'll want to make sure that the PI is competent, and that we have the infrastructure to do the stuff. They'll want to make sure, obviously, that we'll be able to bring or randomize the patients that we say we can randomize. And it's an estimation at the end of the day, but we've been pretty good on that estimation lately.
Do you think now, knowing what you know now, let's say there's an NP that has a connection with a doctor with an MD, like in a random city, and they have a private practice, do you think would you recommend research to them? And if so, under what conditions?
I would definitely recommend it. It's great. The only condition, or like if I were to do it, it's that I need someone that really knows what he or she is doing. Like we wouldn't be able to be here without your knowledge, or so if.
But now we could. We're at the point where it's like less important.
Yeah, because you're training the people, so you have to either partner or hire someone that really knows what they're doing. Otherwise,
what would you do? Like if you were started over, right? And let's say you didn't know me, but
okay. So if I didn't know you, I'll probably, I open up my LinkedIn when I joined you my clinical trials. I'll probably go on LinkedIn and try to,
say another LinkedIn recommendation. It's not just me, guys.
Yeah, I didn't have one before this. So,
I inspired you to open a LinkedIn?
Boy, you asked me what's your LinkedIn? I'm like, I don't have one. So I will start looking there, and I will look for maybe CRAs that are standing out for what they're doing or how they're interacting. Obviously, I wouldn't look for the ones fighting with everybody all the time, or if they're quiet, then they'll never be noticed. So I'll start there. Also start going to like SOS or those meetings, like start networking with others.
Save our sites. Next year's Oklahoma City, man.
Oh, nice.
April.
Nice.
We got to
See,
fly out together.
yeah, we should.
All
We
right.
definitely will.
We'll do it.
So that's
And with Daniel.
yeah, Daniel will go. That's one. The other one is start just like usually we think of business uh as competition, but in research it's not the case. Like
They're your
whenever
friends.
yeah, they're friends or networking, we're sharing studies because for the most part, especially for us, I don't know in bigger cities, but for us is we're the only site, so there's really no competition. So
Shout out to Judy and even right now, Gabby Marinello all the way in Miami sending
there.
me.
yeah, so the networking with them, and maybe why not be like, hey, I'm thinking about opening up a clinic. May I steal one of your employees and
Yeah.
somebody that already knows, or partner with one of them
Yeah.
that they done it from scratch.
A
I
lot
mean,
of
I think that
companies do that, like what you said, and they end up finding me and Chris or our videos, and then they inquire about our services that we offer. So that's one way to go about it. But I think you do need like the key personnel, especially if you don't want to do all the
Yeah.
coordinating work. When we started out, it was me and you coordinating
yeah,
until we hired our first employee and then our second one who's still with us.
that's right. Yeah, I mean, speaking to people that want to be owners, we normally like if I get a new job anywhere else, I expect my check in 2 weeks. I'm gonna start getting paid every 2 weeks or every week or every month or whatever the contract says.
That's an employee mentality.
As an employee, so as an owner, it was different. I mean, we didn't pay ourselves for over a year, right? I mean, I think it was way over a year. So, and initially it was just talks, and then we started doing everything, putting everything together. We're lucky to have Dr. Smith as our PI,
Yeah.
very well,
Super patient.
yeah, patient, well known doctor, very well respected doctor. But it took a while, and my concern, and I kept on asking Dan, hey man, when are we gonna get some money, because I don't want our PI to get desperate and be like, oh no, I'm out. So
That happens a lot.
yeah, and I can see that because as providers, we expect our check to come on whatever basis it is.
It's still an employee mentality and hand to mouth.
Yeah,
You eat what you catch mentality.
definitely. So here is different because it will take a while for first of all for the clinic for the research side to be fully functioning. It might take a while for the site as a new site to get studies, and the first studies will be not the best until you get the recognition and whatnot, and then it will take a while for you to be able to pay yourself. So
And you know what I found from not just myself, I avoid it for myself because I know this, but from our clients and just people from the wild, their PI leaves at the worst time.
Mm-hmm.
I used to say it's almost a rule: your first PI will leave you. And it kind of happened with us because remember before Smith we had another guy.
Yeah.
We left him, but he would have done the same thing. He wouldn't have been as patient as Smith.
Yeah.
And I saw that beforehand. But your first PI will almost always leave you unless they're related to you because of this.
Yeah.
And because most site owners are new and they don't over communicate. Hey, it's going to take a while. Most overpromise. Like, oh, yeah,
That's
we get
right.
this study's going to be easy, and then you're going to start making money. And then they're like, goes a year without seeing anything.
Yeah.
And they're just signing and probably getting bombarded with the emails.
That's right.
If you remember, Smith was using his personal email, and he was not getting paid anything. He was like, "Can you switch these emails?" Like,
I don't remember.
then we didn't have his company one, the Yuma one yet.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we switched it, but nobody actually switches who they send it to. They were still getting
Yeah.
bombarded. But
Yeah,
we
there's
were
lots
over
of
communicating with him, like, hey, it's going to take time.
Yeah.
But can you imagine if he left right before it started snowballing?
Yeah.
Because right now it's snowballing as long as we can maintain it, and we are hiring more people. And maybe that's the next topic is managing employees, training employees, because you're doing a little bit of that. But you come from a different world where it's more like military style. And in research, it's more like luxury. Like, I mean, we spoil our staff, but
We try.
we tried to. What are your thoughts on this? And, we were still kind of discussing various things earlier today, but
Yeah.
this is very new for you.
Definitely, and that is true. I always been an employee, and I have always been expected to clock in and hit the floor running, and that's always the expectation. That's always the jobs I had as a nurse assistant, as a nurse, as a provider. There's that schedule. So research is different. Just to get the study, there's a lot of work that had to be done prior to that. Once they tell you you've been selected for that, there's a lot of work that has to be done to even start seeing patients. So all that sometimes in our eyes can be like, oh, this is not productive time. We're like just sitting around at the computer, like answering emails or doing whatever they ask you and sending them the logs or the calibration logs or whatever it is. And we may think, oh, we're just losing money. We're just paying for like no patients, right? So like changing that mentality, it's not easy. It's not easy at all. So let's say a doctor has an office and has his staff. He expects the staff to be actively bringing in patients because that's how he's gonna get the money, right? And in here it's different. It's very, very different. And then
I think the rule, because I agree, the rule I keep is, we just hired our 5th coordinator, right? Mm-hmm. We don't expect much from her yet. Maybe in three months we should start recouping the cost. Right now it's training, but she happens to be a world-class phlebotomist, so we are already recouping a little bit from her.
Correct.
But if we set the benchmark, hey, right now we're doing 2 or 3 visits a day. We want to go to 3 to 5.
Correct.
And then once we hit that, okay, now we want to go 5 to 7. Mm-hmm. And once that, 7 to 10, until I think it's no longer realistic and we need someone else.
Correct.
But I think with this group, we're only doing 2 or 3 a day right now. I think when everyone's at their full potential, we can do 10 a day without adding anyone else. Maybe just the admin.
Yeah.
And that's really it. We have the foundation now. Mm-hmm. Once they're trained and we've got a system and the right incentives and the right, and these are the things we got to...
Yeah.
These are the levers we got to tweak because you can only keep giving raises so much.
Yeah.
But there are bonuses, there are incentives, there are perks. I know some sites bring in masseuses.
Okay.
And you don't have to worry about our staff. They don't watch these videos anyways. But the previous staff were on LinkedIn. These ones don't watch. But what are your thoughts on that? And there's no right answer. I mean, but I know some sites spoil the hell out of their staff, but I know other sites where it's more like a militant background. No, you only do this and that, and this is all we're doing. But then those sites get bad retention, terrible, and it honestly costs you more money to find another Jessica and retrain her another 3 months, and you just get caught in the cycle of you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's the problem in research. If let's I'm comparing it to regular clinic, and if in the regular clinic you hire an MA, you're gonna train. The MA is gonna get 1 week of training, roughly, and here you go, and then start producing, bringing the patients and all that. With us, it's different. In 1 week, they're barely training, finishing their GCP certificate and getting used to it.
Yeah, Jessica's on her 2nd week. Tomorrow's gonna be the end of her 2nd week. So
yeah, so the first month it's just training, almost just doing errands maybe and training. Then after that they start getting a little bit more hands-on. By the 3rd month they're probably, as you said, now they're being more independent, if you will. So I think that's a big difference. So now if we think about losing an employee that's been trained already, we already lost all those 3 months. And now we have to keep in mind in those 3 months, we have to pay them with not getting much out of them.
Yeah.
But I think retention is key. And I
A lot
really
of sites
think,
do a bad job of that. A lot.
and not just side jobs. I think in general, I think if we were to run a poll and it was like, hey, are you happy at your job? Most people will probably
Most
say
people
no.
say no,
You know, most people will probably say no. Now,
So far, our employees have said yes,
Mhm.
and I actually believe them. But the challenge is to keep that,
yeah,
and to keep it while increasing your visits,
yes.
which is not easy because
no,
naturally people don't want to work more,
Yeah, that's right.
especially for the same pay. So
Yeah.
there's a fine balance there between let's increase pay, let's share the profits more versus let's increase our work as well.
yes, that is right. So whenever there's downtime and employees are just doing downtime, and still getting paid, it's like ooh. So now why would I want to work more when I still got paid when it was just downtime? So
Exactly.
so yeah, there's definitely that component.
Once you allow, and this is where I think the owners need to get involved, because I tell you all the time privately, keeping them busy is the answer to all of
That's
this.
right. That's right.
And but there comes a limit where it's like, well, they should also, if they're doing more, they should make more. But it's also our job to make sure that we understand what's realistic.
Yes.
And I think that's not an easy thing to do. And even when you know what you're looking for, it's another thing to actually do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that is absolutely right. It's difficult because it all depends on the mentality of in this case the owners. In our case, we are like you and I are very different. You're more like no, yes, and I'm like no, no.
But
But-
in our case, also, we're 2 of 4. And the other 2 are silent. They don't really care what we do. So it boils down to me.
They just leave it up to us.
Yeah.
So I think in our case, we kind of find a balance to a point where we don't go too little or too much. We have to compare with the local pay too, and I think we're doing way better than that, super way better than that. But I think keeping staff happy is the key, and I think you're right. Like we have them chips and sodas and coffee and whatnot, it's just not normally
I've been gaining
done.
weight lately since these chips are in here.
So keeping them happy is key, but you're right. Finding that point where everybody's winning, and I think at the end of the day, that's the key. So I think our retention has been fairly good. I mean, with exceptions as usual, but for the most part, our retention has been very good. I
Really
would say,
good. And I think the satisfaction too. And we have yet to have from this 5, and I think from all of them actually, complaint about it's too much work.
yeah,
I think it was only one person in our whole history, and that was some other things going on. It wasn't.
yeah, no. I think we lost 3 so far, right? 3 moved.
Yeah.
2, I mean, just to put it in perspective, one person that quit it was different world. It was difficult with all the tech, and it made it just very difficult. So
And they realized it was not the right fit.
it
for
was
them.
not the right
Yeah.
fit.
Yeah.
Then another one went to nursing school in a different town.
Yep.
So there was nothing we could do about that. And another one, U of A, recruited them.
Doubled her pay.
And so there was very little we could do about that.
Yeah.
So those are the only 3 we lost so far. So
Right, but even from them, none of them complain it's too
No.
many patients.
No. I
And
think
the ones we have now, even less of not even hints of a complaint. So I think we have something.
I
The
think
concern just not to lose it.
I mean, there's always things happening in life, and there's 5 employees that we have, 5 different families, 5 different worlds, right? So the potential is always there. But I think we're doing the best we can. We're not overloading them with work, and in fact, as you just mentioned, we feel that the workload can be higher.
Yeah.
Um,
I think what, like I said, I mean, we're at 2 to 3 visits a day. During our peak earlier this year, because we had 3 active studies, now we only have 2. We were doing like 3 to 5.
Yeah.
So I think we get back to that because there's 2 new studies starting
like soon, right?
soon, like SIVs, and then after that, there's 2 or 3 other ones potentially starting.
Potentially in the works.
So I really think we can get to 5 to 10 visits a day before this year's over.
And I think anywhere in there, at least at the very most minimum 5 visits a day, which will be 1 visit per coordinator.
Right.
It's like more than
Doable.
doable,
Very
more
doable.
than doable.
And you can still be like relaxed at the work. And
Oh
not be
yeah, you can
too
still have a
stressed out.
good day.
Yeah.
I think 2 visits a day, as we were talking earlier, which will be 1 screen or 1 baseline, and then the second visit a follow up visit.
Right.
That's also very doable. 8 hours for that, which is normally the office hours. It's way more than doable.
Yeah.
And I think what has helped our retention and our patients and in our employees is that we're super flexible with the time. Like, and they're good too. Like if they did everything and it's a Friday and they're like, hey, everything's done. There's no more patients. Can we go? And we're like, yeah, sure, go.
They leave early or they stay longer. I mean,
Yeah, if they need a day off, they just need to let us know, and we want to make sure that we have enough staff covering. But we're super flexible with the schedule.
and we have a pretty fun work environment, which I think is important too. Now, what about like the last topic? Because we can't get into all of these, otherwise it'll be like 2 hours. Patients, we're specifically came to Yuma because of the minority population, the underserved. I kind of had a feeling it would work well here. I didn't think it would work this well. I thought it would take longer to get as many doctors as we did. We get like 5 PIs, and even if you count Dr. Joe, we have 6.
That's right.
But the patients, especially the Hispanics, because like half of Yuma is Hispanic, right?
I think over that, but yeah.
Over that. You were always saying, even from the beginning, if you go watch this playlist, that Latino participants really tough to get. And now some of our studies, I don't know if you saw that email from one of our studies, they will block you from enrolling if it's not Latino.
Oh.
You didn't see that? I have to send you that.
Yeah, no,
They want 3 Latinos for every 1 other.
Oh.
It's becoming super important. I'm about to tell Ronick from Patient Ace, let's do just for this month, only Spanish ads. What do you think about the Latino patient in this market? We had these conversations 3 years ago. What did you say then versus what you think now about doing research?
Yes. In the Latino culture, if you will, it's normally you don't do something without getting rewarded for what you're doing. And normally you will not do something that you don't trust, So let's say, perfect example, I'm talking about Mexico. I don't know, like Central America or South America.
Right.
But if a patient's having a surgery, they normally want blood to be in the blood before they even did the surgery. Here in the States, there's blood already waiting for that patient because we have blood drives and be a hero, and you go donate blood and you feel good about it. You did something good, and it's like a culture thing, right? In Mexico, you have to pay friends to go donate blood. And because otherwise they don't want to lose a day of job, they just won't go get a huge nail stick in their arm to donate blood if they're not getting anything out of it. So it's hard to find patients to donate blood. Now, if we put that in a research perspective, a lot of them say, well, I don't want to be the guinea pig. I don't want to be the one that they try it on and find out what's wrong. And then, and it's just the culture. And I see it that time and time again here whenever we get a patient that's being in the culture, not necessarily race, but the culture itself, the mentality. Some patients are like, oh yes, I want new therapeutics. I already have this disease, but I want the newer generations to have an answer to the disease. And I'm like, wow, that's
From the Latino?
no. I mean, from the culture, it's mainly. I mean, it's been some Latinos, but
Because you
they've
could
been
be Latino, but like
they
raised like
they're
an American.
raised, yeah, if they're raised here. So, but most patients will not be that open. Now, I think we've been lucky because a lot of our patients come from the clinics. So their provider tells them there's this research, I think you can benefit with it, or you should consider it, and they get referred from to us from their own provider, so they feel more comfortable.
So it's already like easier.
It's already easier than.
Do you think it helps that we have bilingual staff?
Oh yes,
or
yes.
do you think that's not important?
No. I think it's definitely important because we're able to communicate with them, without no barriers, without any translation. Where any questions they have, they can ask us in English, in Spanish. We're able to talk to them in Spanish. So I think that's another one that really helps. And then for the patients that are being seen in the clinic, which is an established facility, so all that gives you more confidence. And all the Latino patients that we have, they're super happy. They're very, very happy. They're very compliant. But that trust the ice has to be broken before we even start.
Yeah.
And then we build on that trust. So
yeah, because some are so skeptical, and I noticed that especially from the Hispanics.
Yeah.
Much more so than Caucasians, for example. And we've even tried, being in Yuma, Native Americans, which is
even worse.
We haven't really figured that out. I mean, we got lucky here and there with a couple, but
we have a few, but it's hard. It's even harder.
Why?
I think it's just the culture, and then another. I don't want to say problem, but another reason is because they have their own clinic, so it's so they're all seen within their own reservation. So there are only a few ones that are outside the reservation
and we've only made a few inroads there.
And then we tried to go and talk to them, but it's
the
just
sponsors,
a harder market.
Are you surprised that the sponsors are willing to help us so much? Like, they give us like this banner and the other one in our room. You guys will see it on future podcasts. I mean, that's from community outreach budgets. Like, they're like, hey, we want you to spend this.
Yeah, we want you.
And we're like, okay, well, we're doing. They're like, no, spend more. Like, they're encouraging us to whatever we need, and you can keep it. So it becomes like these banners that we took to like community outreach events that we get to keep. Like, are you surprised at that?
No, not really, because I guess we can go historically. I don't know the exact numbers, but in regards to race, probably there were more of one race than others, and maybe from the races that were less, there weren't enough patients to really conclude something. So that's where I'm thinking they want to expand more. That way, when they do a recommendation on the medication, they can actually say, yes, this works because we had this amount of patients that was tried on. The trial went on X amount of patients. So I'm thinking that's the main reason. And it all comes down to the culture. The culture, the mentality of Caucasians is more open. That's fine. I want to help the others. I want to go donate blood, as I said, just because I want to feel good. Whereas more Latino and natives were like, no, why would I go do that?
Even if we're paying.
Yeah, and that is correct. Even if we're paying.
So it hasn't been easy. We got to do a part 2 one of these days because there's so much more. And the people that have been following the playlist since 3 years ago, we're in the middle of it. We had a 5-year plan, so we're a little bit over, maybe at 55% of the way there.
Yeah, I would say
45% left. God willing, maybe longer. But who knows?
Definitely.
It's been an interesting experiment so far.
Yeah,
and
it has been.
Thank you, Jaime. We got the bubbly with the cheers.
Thank you.
Everybody go connect. Jaime does have a LinkedIn
now.
Like, subscribe, comment, share. Bye-bye. hey, if you guys like that kind of content, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share. Stay tuned for more videos.